they teach us in school all the time about slavery and everything else, but they don't. And I know that religion is separate from the school, yes,
And it
but
should be. But yeah, keep
as
going.
it should be. But this was forced upon us, and that's something that they don't talk about in school. They just
Because you
leave
had
it
well,
alone.
yeah, because you had to separate from schools.
You have to separate the two, but
Yeah.
that's part of the history, isn't it? The history is that Christianity was forced upon African American slaves, just like Catholicism and Christianity was forced upon Native Americans. And well, that's a different story right there. But in the same way, where they sent the kids there, as a way to try and get them integrated within American society after that whole process. But during that time, people end up abused, killed, and a whole bunch of other things, and that's neither here and now, here and there. It happens sometimes still to this day, but that's part of history. That's not just saying, okay, well, this is religion, so we won't teach this. No, the history of it is that this is what happened. You're not going into the lessons of 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 um
No, I know.
of religion.
I get that, but the problem is that's way too gray of an area because you definitely don't want to have that conversation with a kid's parents talking about, oh well, your religion was stolen and now he's questioning Christianity, his whole entire faith. That's the problem. That like I get what you're saying, but for to me as an educational institution, I think that's question's a little too gray for that to be taught in schools. I would probably I mean personally, I think I would leave that alone. I think that's a good idea because
That
it's
is
just
a subject,
it's
but
too
it
gray.
could be just kind of like how sex ed is. Like some people don't want their kids knowing about this, some do. And I feel like
Well, I
it's
mean,
something that should be taught in the school because
I
you're
don't
actually teaching the history.
I don't think that should because that could be a very big factor in changing a kid's belief system. And I think that's a little I wouldn't want to I don't
You know what? I'll agree with you on that. It
yeah
is. It
yeah
is a big factor.
yeah
But you know
like
what?
when I was in school like they taught about Jesus but they didn't teach about Jesus in the way of a religion. They just teach it in the way of just history like his that's a man in history when I was in school.
They didn't even do that in my school. What they did was they spoke about the times, and then they spoke about, like, how crusades happened, and they spoke about how a certain amount of people died because they believed in the religion Christianity during this time, and they
See,
spoke
I
slightly on it, and then they
yeah
went forward. But they didn't ever actually spoke about Jesus themselves.
yeah I know that yeah
themselves.
I know history class I took they spoke on Jesus but not necessarily through the religion but just the person like his importance when it came to religion basically but not really like
But you
the faith
see,
and none of that stuff.
that can be a little bit going, in that same direction. If they're willing to talk about one thing within religion within a certain amount of time, why can't they
Okay.
talk about another when
Be,
it had to do with the slavery and what was forced upon
because
the people?
because talking about it as in a history sense as he was an important part of history it's very different from having to talk about that which may have a kid question his fate. That's a little bit
You
different.
know what it is? What I what I believe
It's
it
the
is
same
too.
thing. It's the same thing when I was also taught about Muhammad in history, but not like the whole entire religious practice. Just that he was a dude who went around and was teaching, was preaching stuff, but nothing. But I really didn't go into details or nothing.
I believe
Just that
that
he
it
was a
has to do with the
victor.
time too, because that happened so long ago, and then slavery and everything that happened within slavery happened not that long
Mhm.
ago, in the sense of saying. So I also have to believe that it has to do with time.